A remarkable person. She nurtures what she says as ordinary women with extraordinary vision on how to create a new world, and Lord knows we need that. She coaches women who have a vision of making a meaningful difference by integrating psychology, neuroscience, and spirituality. I've worked with her. She is absolutely extraordinary. When you get most stuck, she knows how to unstick us and create a breakthrough. So, Gabriella, help us make those lasting changes from the inside out that you do so well. Because, boy, I need it. I'm really selfish here. Okay.
We all do. And thank you. And when I heard you saying that, it's like one thing I'm acutely aware of is the last thing we need right now is more information, more talking heads telling us what we need to do and how we need to think and, where we need to go and how, all of those things. But I feel that what we need instead of information is just more connection. And one of the things that I love about neuroscience, as sort of brainy and technical as that term may be, is that we're recognizing that we humans, we actually have three brains. We have a skull brain, we have a heart brain, and we have a belly brain. Skull brain is phenomenal at allowing us to sit in our chairs here and talk to each other instead of picking our bits and climbing the walls and doing what our older, our 500 million year old brain might want us to do. Our skull brain is extraordinary for organizing thoughts and logic and planning and just that part of our executive consciousness that can have perspective and can offer compassion to something we don't understand or that space between. Our skull brain does so many things, but it doesn't do everything. We live in a culture in the West, primarily, that has largely valued our left hemisphere in our skull brain for productivity and following the rules, following the plan, and like there's a trajectory, like there's somewhere that we're going to. But I think what we're all seeing is that we don't really know where we're going. Like the fires, we didn't see that come. I mean, we may have seen that coming. We had no idea how catastrophic it would be. There was no plan for that. I found out that one of my dearest soul sisters was just found dead on Friday, totally out of the blue, no idea or plan for that. And so while we have these incredible skull brains that are so helpful for us doing a lot of things that we do, we also have not only this right hemisphere, but this right hemisphere, which is about connection and feeling and intuition and creativity. And it also has these incredible pathways that go down into our heart brain. Our left hemisphere does not have any pathways to our heart brain. That's why when and we live in a culture that is estimated to be 75% left dominant because it's safer that way. We don't feel when we're in our left hemisphere. We're just pointing figures and sort of determining who has to do what. And it's like the little controller inside. And yet it's our right hemisphere that can feel where I can feel me in relationship to you on the screens in front of me, where I can feel the trees outside my peripheral vision, outside of the window here, where I can feel my own body and my heart rate raising a little bit just because I'm on the spot here. No many years I've been speaking on stages for 30 years, no matter anytime the spotlight's on me, my heart rate goes up. So we have this incredible right hemisphere that connects us, these pathways of feeling into our heart brain. And our heart brain is where it's like the central governing intelligence that I think is going to get us through these times. It's where we hold infinite capacity to love, infinite capacity to be with suffering. It holds the incredible longing of our seeking system, which seeks connection, seeks relationships, reaches out no matter how many times we've been disappointed, no matter how many times we've been burned or let down. Our heart brain is always seeking for some connection. And for a lot of us, we don't have safe connection, so we find other ways to adapt. But it's this incredible seeking to love something, and it might be our kitties. It might be our children. It might be our plants. It might be our pies. And so there's this intelligence in us that is just always impelling us to love. And it also holds the memory and the knowing of when it wasn't so safe to love. And if you're anything like me, I had a lot of early experiences, like many of us, where the thing that I needed and wanted most, which was safe connection with other, was actually the most dangerous. And we've all known differing degrees of people that we need reaching out for that connection and actually being hurt by that person. I know, a memory that comes for me is I was standing in the TV room and I was 12 years old, and my dad was a very injured individual he was an addict and he had mental illness. And he was saying something about wanting to put me in foster care. Like, I don't want to deal with you. We're going to put you up for adoption. And I said something like a 12-year-old where I was like, well, I should just kill myself. If I'm such a burden on you, I should just kill myself. And he said, you don't have the balls. I dare you. So what did I do as a 12-year-old with no executive functioning because that part of the brain, my brain hadn't even developed yet? I went and overdosed. And so that gave me a very deep message that I didn't matter. And I said that because I was wanting him to turn to me and say, oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry. Of course you matter. Of course we're not going to get rid of you. I want you. And due to his own pain, he couldn't. So we all know those times when we have reached out and we didn't get what we needed reaching back towards us. And our heart brain also encodes this, and it encodes the meaning that we've made about it. And then we have these incredible belly brains that not only process and digest food, this phenomenal microbiome that houses, that nourishes our immune system. 95% of serotonin, a neurotransmitter, is made in our gut brain. 50% of dopamine is made in our gut brain. And so not only does it digest the quality of food that we eat, but it also digests the quality of our relationships. How safe do I feel? How connected do I feel? And now at this time, when there is so much unrest, the very thing that we thought that we could rely upon is moving. And no matter what our feelings are about climate change or the political landscape in America, no matter if we think things are just fine, or no matter if you're like me and you're freaking the F out because of what's happening, we're all feeling on some level or not, whether we're conscious or not, that things are changing. Things are changing. And I believe that with every major breakdown, we are on the edge of a breakthrough. Something new is wanting to come through you. It's wanting to come through me, and it's wanting to come through us. I work with Grammy Award winning artists and, people that are like high positions of political power. I also love working with the everyday change makers, where when we do the work inside to reconnect, especially with the parts of ourselves that have felt hard to acknowledge or be with or feel, when we do this work, not only do we create a more spacious landscape to greet ourselves and our pain and our broken hearts and our undigested, difficult relationships, we're able to expand our capacity to be with others. And so when I look around at what's happening right now, both in me, I mean, my anxiety's been through the roof, my fear's been through the roof. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. And I also have a lot of resourcing tools. I have a lot of support. And so I think we're at a time where it really is a both and. And when I look at what's happening out there, we're starting to see that one of the greatest lies that we've been taught is that the power is out there, when in really the power in here, through inherent health, through our brain being the self-organizing system that is constantly wanting to move in the direction of integration. Constantly, it just needs our help. We have these extraordinary psyches that long to complete things. The stories we tell ourselves about ourselves and others and hard times, our psyche, when we get stuck in these loops where we're just trying to like where we can't, we're chewing on something, that email we received or what we said, or we didn't like how someone was treating us. When we get stuck in these loops, it's our psyche that's wanting to experience some completion so we can be at ease. It's wanting integration and these incredible spirits that each one of us are endowed with just by virtue of being alive. There is an extraordinary light within me and within you that knows the way. And sometimes we just have to help the other parts of ourselves. So when I look at what's happening around us, I'm like, the great news is nobody's coming to save us. Like literally every single one of us carry what I think of or I call the scars of the patriarchy, which is this way of being that for thousands of years, where we shifted from a people, hunters and gatherers, where more or less there was a sense of belonging, tribal togetherness, and that there was enough for all. 5 berries, I'll share my berries with you, more or less. And we shifted into, and I'm being grossly abstract here, but you get the idea. But we shifted into a way of being where the power differential became power over, power under. And that taught us to be scared, and it taught us to assume scarcity, that if we don't comply and we don't go along with those that have power over us, then we will go without. And so 6,000 years later, when we look at every single one of us, we recognize that we have been backed into a corner, disconnected from our humanity, forced to comply with a world over order that has told us what we're supposed to look like, how much money we're supposed to make, that we're supposed to be perfect and on point, and it's just not true. So when I look at what can we do here today in this very gathering, it is the strength that comes through connection, connecting with ourselves and one another, that I do believe will not only get us through, but it will help us reshape our brains and nervous systems to come into a greater sense of like, oh, I'm not alone. You're with me, with me, I'm stronger, because we need each other. We need each other. And so the thing that I would just like to offer, and I can see Kathy coming on, we're probably going to wrap up. So for right now, let's see how this lives inside of each one of us. Chances are we're all walking around with a sense of like the parts of us that we're okay with and the parts of ourselves that we struggle with, or the feelings that we're comfortable with and the feelings that we're uncomfortable with. So just think about today alone. Is there a feeling or a thought that has come up that's bubbled up in your inner being that has been troubling to you? I hit a wall of overwhelm this morning, just processing my friend's death and all the projects that I'm involved in. And I just had a moment of overwhelm and sort of, for me, emotional combustion happens and just water springs out of my face. So that was a hard moment because I just felt like I kind of lost my footing. So that's one thing that came up for me. I just felt emotionally flooded. What's something that you felt or a thought that you had or a judgment that you had of somebody else that perhaps you feel maybe shame around or don't know what to do with? So I'm just going to invite each of us just to call that up into our mind's eye, that person, that moment, the situation, the experience, the toxic waste dump that's being, placed in front of Kathy's home, whatever it is that feels hard. Can we just take a moment together to turn towards that hard thing, that hard experience of injustice, the hard feeling of perhaps overwhelm or grief, the hard thought of how are we going to get through this, or oh my God, things are getting so bad, or the self judgment or the judgment of other, whatever it is, can we just in this moment take about 5 seconds to just welcome that? And to soften our gaze at this hard thing that lives inside of us that we're struggling with. We don't need to fix it in this moment. We don't need to change it. We just want to expand our capacity to be with it. And I don't know about you, but that immediately inspired a deeper exhalation in me. It brings online our parasympathetic nervous system, and it actually helps connect pathways between our downstairs brain that knows a lot about hard feelings and our upstairs brain that can provide some regulation and a capacity to think more clearly. So that's my invitation for all of us is can we soften towards the hard?
Oh,
Mhm.
shoulders down, everybody. That was just beautiful, Gabriella.